Morning. Welcome back to the show on this 13th day of February 2019. You're just in time for an important conversation. It's 7:29. My name is Sam Gituku, and for the very first time, Wafula Chebukati, the chairperson of IBC, is here. Good morning, Chairman.
Yeah, morning, Sam.
It's been a long time.
Sure.
Have you been at a TV studio doing an interview?
Yeah, I have, but not since.
Have you been to a studio?
Well, not a studio, but you guys have come to me.
So this is the very first time. All right. So
yeah.
I have looked for the chairman since October 2017. That is 1 year. How many months? 4 months.
Yeah.
It calls for patience to find you. What have you been doing all these years, all these months?
You know the work we do, managing elections and other stuff. That's what we've been doing. And some people think that in IBC, you have elections and then you sit another 5 years and then have the next election. That's not true.
Right.
We have a whole electoral cycle. We have pre-election period, election period, and post-election period, which we are now engaged in. And that informs the launch we had yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to begin from that report that you were talking about yesterday. And there's this proposal that appears to be prominent, that you're saying you prefer that the elections, the 6 elections, are staggered so that we have county elections on one day and then the national elections on another day. This is a recommendation that was also made by the Isaka San-led team in 2013 after the election, but it appears not to have been taken. Why is it so serious? Why is it so important that we consider taking that route?
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for that question. As an election management body, as I said, we have an electoral cycle, and part of what we do after election is to do what we call an evaluation. It's there in the law, and if you look at the Constitution, also provides that we must evaluate how we did the election, the previous election. So part of the things we identified is that having 6 elections in one day, it takes a toll on our staff, because they're the same staff who do the polling from 6 in the morning to 5 in the evening, and then convert the polling rooms into counting rooms. And remember, they are counting 6 sets of elections, ballots. And that takes fatigue. It goes on for days and nights. And we feel that as a commission, for proper efficiency and management, a staggered election would be better for the country. And this happens in many other countries. Okay. Yes.
So if that route is to be taken, that would mean that there are some things that need to be changed, part of the election laws and also maybe the Constitution.
Yes, I agree there will be need for amending the law and the Constitution to provide for 2 different dates for the elections.
And how far are those conversations? So it's just a recommendation at the moment?
It's at the moment it's a recommendation, and that's what we are supposed to do. In the post-election evaluation. We come up with a recommendation. And this is not the work of the IBC alone. This report is informed by, we have consultants who are paid for by UNDP. And the views in this report are views from various Kenyans, from the civil society, from donors, I mean, from observer reports are part of the report, and political parties, they all gave contributions to this report. So this is not a report from the IBC. This is a report from a collection of Kenyans. Okay, all right. Yeah.
Through this election cycle, the one that you're talking about, in 2017 on August 8th, no, let me start with August 6th. It was on a Sunday. And I had an interview with you from the Bomas of Kenya. And you told me that you were confident that the commission is going to do a fantastic job to ensure that the election is going to be credible. Yeah. And came August 8th and the election was held. Yeah. And then you announced a winner a few days later. Yeah. Then it was nullified. Yeah. What, in your view, went wrong at the commission?
Well, we had 6 elections in one day. The 5 elections, I believe, if you look at the petitions that were filed out of the 5 elections, there are a total of 299 petitions filed in various courts.
Right.
Out of which only 5 have succeeded so far. And remember, we only have 2 cases left in the Supreme Court.
Right.
So if you have 5 out of 299, I think that was a job very well done.
Right.
For the 5 elective seats. Now, come to the presidential election. And I believe that's what you're referring to.
That's right.
The Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, by a majority, decided to nullify the election. And the reasons are given in their judgment.
That's true.
Now you're asking me, what do I think went wrong?
Yes.
I think the judgment, the judges gave reasons for annulling the election, and one of the reasons I picked up from the judgment is that the judges were not satisfied that the commission did not give access to the server to the parties who were to do to have access to the server.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is one of the reasons given for nullifying that election. Yeah.
Well, of course, we have read the judgment since that time, and we know exactly what the judges found, and you correctly quoted that access was not given to the verifiers that have been sent. Yeah. But from the perspective of a commission, because when we listened to the then chief executive officer, he was saying that that was the best managed election ever in this country. I don't know that you share those sentiments, but when you look back, despite the access, was there any fishy deals or things that were done to interfere with the results that you announced?
I cannot say there were fishy things done. All we know is that we had challenges, a number of challenges. It wasn't that very, very smooth. Okay. And the only way to find out about what's in the technology is to do an audit. The internal audits have been done. The vendors, the owners of the people who supplies the equipment have also done audits, and they are satisfied that everything is okay. But the law provides that we must do an external audit of the server. If you look at Regulation 11 of the Election Technology Act, I mean the rules and regulations, they provide that audit needs to be done. And as I said yesterday, that audit is yet to be done because we have not been put in funds by the National Treasury. If and when that's done, that is the audit that's going to be circulated to Kenyans, so that they can know exactly what happened in terms of transmission. But as a commission, our internal systems, we are satisfied that they were in order.
So based on that, do you think it was a mistake for the Supreme Court to nullify the election?
You know, there's no appeal out of the Supreme Court.
That's true,
and
but you can have an appeal.
My views at the moment is that the Commission did what it could in the circumstances. And so I would not really want to comment on whether or not the judges were right or wrong. Remember, it was a majority judgment. Yeah.
So when you look at, you said that access was not given to the servers. Why was it so difficult for the Commission to allow that access to the parties?
There was a total of 14 orders given by the Supreme Court as regards scrutiny, and all the documents were supplied. Then the problem which we had is that our staff, the ICT staff, did not have full control of the servers. The servers were controlled by the vendors. That's MOFO. And so for us to access, they had to get MOFO to be part of the granting access rights. And that's what caused the delay. And that's a problem which the Commission is now trying to solve to ensure that our staff are in full control of the technology which we have. Yeah.
So I remember in court some of the submissions that were made by your counsel, that is Paul Moita. He was saying that the servers were being managed from Europe, and he had said that at that time they were asleep. Never mind, the time difference was about 2 to 3 hours. How true was that?
I think I would say that statement was uncalled for. Europe and here, the time difference 2 hours, you can't say in the afternoon people are asleep. I think all he needed to say is that the vendors, our suppliers, are the ones who have the rights over the technology, and therefore our staff, or rather we have to wait for them to grant those access. But the truth of the matter is that this is live data. For you to give somebody access, you must do the configurations and ensure that the access you are giving does not interfere with the technology. And that took quite a while to grant access rights and configure passwords and that kind of stuff.
And Chairman, after that election, it sort of, was it a shocker? Did you expect it? Did you expect a nullification?
Definitely not. Because we had prepared in very difficult circumstances. As I said, there were challenges when we came in office. And no election manager expects an election to be nullified just like that. Remember, our results are two-way. There's a manual result and a transmission result. All manual results, ballots were counted at the polling station, Form 34As were filled. There's a copy in every ballot box, 40,883 ballot boxes, each have copies of the results. But the court said the election is a process, not numbers. So if it was numbers, we could easily have gone back to verify those numbers. And so that is, it was a shock to all of us and the commission, but we pulled ourselves together and continued and delivered the second, the FPE, the fresh presidential election.
And part of the challenge that was cited by the judges is that there are several forms that could not be verified. Some of them did not have signatures. Then later on, the then Chief Executive Officer was coming to say that those are not the correct forms. I mean, were the judges looking at the correct forms?
I wasn't personally involved in the scrutiny of the forms, but what I do know is that the commission supplied the court registry with all the requisite forms, 34As, 34B, and 34C, which I signed myself, and I had the original, 34C. And so these other issues that came out of scrutiny of the forms, I'm not privy to it.
I'm asking that question because one of the dissenting judges, that is Justice Njoki Ndungu, was saying that she took the assignment upon herself to go and look at those forms and verify. And she determined that the report that was presented before the court was not accurate, fully accurate. Does it bother you? Do you think the judges made the right decision all these months later?
Again, let me say that the Supreme Court judgment is final. And I wouldn't want to say, you know, a judgment is what the judge perceives to be. And so as to the exactness of the forms, or, you know, it's a question of what the judge found. So I can't say the judge was right or wrong. I think it's a judgment. We have to stand by it.
And respect it.
And lessons learned, and we need to pick it up and move on.
And you actually respected it and went ahead to comply with the order to conduct a fresh election within 60 days. But before I get into that, that decision sort of split your commission. I remember on, was it October 17th? Commissioner Rosalina Kombe, who was traveling to Dubai to go and oversee the printing of ballot papers for the repeat presidential election, resigned from New York. How did you receive that? Did you have a signal that that was going to happen?
Oh, absolutely not. Commissioner Kombe was in charge, commissioner in charge of the committee on election operations. After the election was nullified in August, she actually went ahead to prepare for the fresh presidential election, and even prepared training manuals for staff, and we went with her around the country checking on staff. Now, she told me she wants to go to Dubai to check on the ballot papers for the FPE, and I gave her permission to go. And the next thing I heard, she's taken off and she's in New York. So it was a shock to me and a shock to the commission, and that's how it was. And when you looked at that decision, do you think she had all the reasons to do that? Was she justified, bearing in mind that you needed every hand in the commission? Commissioner Kombe had complained about security initially, and her personal security, and I think her security had been enhanced. And therefore, her decision to take off or leave the commission is still mind-boggling for me.
Mind-boggling for you.
Yes.
And then that was October of 2017. 6 months down the line, on April, what date was it? Was it 18th? There's a problem with 18th and 17th for your commission. 3 other commissioners left the commission, and I want to quote part of what Commissioner Margaret Mwachanya said, that the commission has continued to be dysfunctional with arbitrary decision-making, leaking of internal documents to serve personal goals and pursuing personal interest. Then they said that, anyway, first of all, What happened so that we have a lot of leakage from the commission? Who was leaking these documents, and why are you pursuing personal interest as a chairperson?
You're going by the statement of Margaret?
Yes, Margaret Mwachanya, yes.
It's a very dishonest statement, absolutely dishonest. The real stories, have you seen a situation where we were all together? What happened in the boardroom is that we had made a decision as a commission to do an internal audit of procurement of the election, procurement of election materials from the presidential election of August, the election of August, sorry, to the FPE, fresh presidential election. These three commissioners were not happy that we are doing an audit. They opposed the audit of the procurements for elections. And they didn't want us to ask the CEO any questions, or rather ask him to account, because the CEO is an accounting officer of the organization. All procurement is under him. It's a responsibility which is not shared with another person. The work of the commission is to do policy, strategy, and oversight. And so we didn't know that they were leaving. And the next thing we saw on TV that they are resigning. And then ask yourself why they try to come back again.
I don't know.
Are those people who are really sincere? If they didn't like the chairman, so why try to come back again? So these are individuals who perhaps were under instruction from some external forces. Yeah, I don't think they were doing this consciously, because I don't think if they had their own self-respect, they would resign and then try to come back and that kind of stuff.
Commissioner Mwachanya said that for far too long and way too many times, the commission chair has failed to be the steady, stable hand that steers the ship in difficult times and gives direction when needed. Instead, under his leadership, the commission boardroom has become a venue for peddling misinformation, a ground for brewing mistrust, and a space for scrambling and chasing for individual glory and credit. Is this a true reflection of the commission that you led?
It is absolutely not. As I said, the mandate of the commissioners is to do policy, strategy, and oversight. All operations are under the CEO and the secretariat. There's no personal glory. There's no... Commissioners are not even involved in procurement. They don't sit in evaluation committees. They don't sit in tender opening committees. They don't negotiate procurement issues. And so those are very dishonest words. These are, as I said, and my take, I think somebody very unhappy with the commission, somebody unhappy with the audit that we had initiated, wanted to scuttle the commission, and he found an avenue, and the avenue was those three individuals. Fortunately, they didn't succeed in the...
Who is that? Who would you imagine is that?
Of course, we have cartels out here. We have vendors. We have interests and in the commission.
Who are these cartels? Because, Chairman, you live in this country and you know that every time we have an issue that is talking about impropriety, people want to blame the cartels, maize procurement cartels. But who are these cartels in your view?
Well, they'll be known one day. I'm not going to name any names here. But the circumstances under which the three commissioners left, they tried to come back with the armed security. It's kind of mind-boggling. So
when people say that the commission was divided on political lines, one would imagine it's the Jubilee versus the NASA. Which camp do you belong to?
I don't belong to any camp. If you realize throughout my tenure, I've been under attack from both sides. I don't belong to any camp. My only camp is on the side of the Kenyan people. And that's where I belong. I serve my country. I do the mandate I was put in office to do, and that is all. That's the camp I belong to, on the side of the Kenyan people.
Any body, any public body, public institution in this country that is managed by a board or a commissioners will obviously have differences in opinion, and that's normal. But why has it become so difficult for you to put the commissioners together to this point? I mean, you were only together for less than a year.
Let me say that if you, for the really inside story, the commissioners were always together. meetings every day. In fact, that weekend before the three resigned, we were in Naivasha in a retreat, all of us together. In fact, their resignation was a total surprise to us. We didn't see it coming. And none of them even ever told me that, Chair, I think we should do this is not going right or wrong. You get the point?
So in those boardrooms, because the commissioner says that there was witch hunting, how was it like managing this team? Were there chaos? Did you guys listen to each other?
We listened to each other. Everybody had a chance to make their views in the boardroom. And that's why I'm saying in the boardroom, minutes are taken. The only evidence of boardroom deliberations is minutes. Now, in this case, you'll have minutes taken and then one or two dishonest individuals come and say, I didn't say that. That's why we are saying as a commission, going forward, we have Hansard recording of minutes so that we have records. We don't want a situation where somebody say, I didn't say this and this, and yet they have said the opposite. So there were no chaos in the boardroom. There was no issues of physical fighting or verbal fighting. It never happened. No, it's never happened. This statement by Mwachanya and the others is actually, it's a total opposite of what we were having in the boardroom.
Chairman, you never witnessed a situation of people getting agitated and wanting to beat each other?
It never happened.
You didn't see it?
Absolutely not. And I chaired all the meetings, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, there's no single meeting I did not chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to go to the next item because after that division, you eventually fired your chief executive officer. First of all, sent him on compulsory leave. No, what was it? What was the first thing? Suspension?
Yeah.
No, it was compulsory leave, then
it was compulsory leave, then suspension.
And then you fired him.
Yes, yes.
And you are blaming him for things that went wrong. Maybe for the first time, you can tell us what exactly did he do wrong that he deserved to be sacked? Well,
the letter of termination is there. It's a 3-page letter. He can share it with you. I wouldn't want to be the one to share it, but
you signed it.
I signed it, yes, right, as a result of a decision by the commission. But there are a number of issues, and I wouldn't want to spill out everything in the letter of termination. But it is a lot to do with his duties as an accounting officer. Yeah, the failure to follow systems and processes which are clearly laid down in the PFM Act and Procurement Act. And we're also looking at failure to enforce decisions of plenary. About 18 decisions we made were never enforced by him as accounting officer. And we're also looking at other issues of breach of contract of employment. There are a number of issues which are laid down clearly in the letter of termination.
But in his response, which he filed with you, he said that he was away. He had asked for excusal to appear at a different time. You never accorded him that opportunity.
I think, again, the proceedings of the deliberations of the disciplinary committee are there. And decision was arrived at after giving adjournment, I think, once or twice, and so that's not true. Well, if he was aggrieved, he could go to court and seek a redress. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the HR policy at IEBC,
procedure was followed.
If you're given an opportunity for delaying or postponing the meeting, how many times should you allow before you can now make a decision without hearing the the party that is being accused?
It's at least the decision of that decision discretion lies with the committee that is hearing. Okay. But at least once, twice, it's acceptable.
So you still stand
natural
with the
justice demands that at least, but there has to be an end to some processes. Yeah.
When he appeared before Parliament on the 29th of November 2018, he said a few things, including that the chair was an advocate for changing a contract from Al Ghurair, and he pushed for the cancellation of the tender. At that time, the matter was active at the Court of Appeal. Is it true that you wanted to use a different supplier for ballot papers, different from Al Ghurair?
The commission, the structure of the commission is that all procurement decisions are in the hands of the accounting officer, and that's the CEO. When we went in the commission, we went in January 2017. The procurement plan had already been done in 2016. That's the 2016-2017 financial year. Budget had already been done 2016-2017 by the previous commission. And also most of the procurements, contracts had already been done. So what we found in office were court cases related to some of those procurements, like the Algrea you are talking about, like the tender for technology. So those were litigations now in court.
Yes.
And so we are faced with an election in a few months, and as a commission, what the Secretariat did, led by the former CEO, was give us updates on, because we needed to know what's happening in these strategic materials.
Yes.
Either you have an election or you don't. And so when it comes to procurement, it's entirely in the hands of the acting CEO. I did not float in a company.
Okay.
I don't have any company, and I don't even have the powers to do that. And so that what he said is a total lie. I think he's just trying to...
Well, you say it's a lie, but he told members of parliament if it be a lie, then that's an offense, I believe.
Let him bring that evidence of what he's talking about. So let me say, as a chair of the commission, where I sit, there are so many people who write correspondence, say, we want this, we want this. But anything to do with procurement, I always refer it to the accounting officer. Okay. Because I don't have the powers. That's not my job. So
when the CEO makes a decision and comes and makes updates, are you able to make amendments or apply your mind, or is it just to rubber stamp?
In this particular case, I remember like the case of the tender for the direct procurement of the technology, the KIMS kits. He brought us an update, and some commissioners felt that this was not the right company. It was 3 days to the expiry of a few days, about 7 days to expire of the notice. The law, the days provided for in law. The 120 days to election, we were to have technology in place. Some commissioners felt this is not the right way to go. We are not happy with this direct procurement. Or rather, we are not happy with this company. And remember, we had a few days to go. But some of us said, no, we must have an election. So if the commission, for example, had said, we don't want this company, what would happen? It would mean the CEO has to go back and start afresh. But you didn't say that. We felt we have a few days, I think less than, that was on 31st March. We were to have technology purchase in place by 8th of April, which was 120 days to 8th of August. And the majority of the commissioners said, let's go ahead. So if the majority of commissioners say, let's go ahead, and the chief executive officer goes ahead to execute your decision, then how much of blame should you take if something goes wrong? Let me put it this way. The decision to procure lies entirely with the accounting officer. You cannot push him or make him make a different decision. If the accounting officer doesn't want to procure that company using the systems in place, procurement processes, then the board cannot make him do otherwise. Then what's the role of the commissioners in such a case? We were given an update. It's a strategic material, and we needed to know what is happening. And we were given updates. Now, if the commissioners say, we don't want this company, or we are not comfortable, all that will happen is that the accounting officer will have to go back and procure another entity. We cannot tell him, go and procure this one. That is how it works. And that's why I'm asking. You didn't tell him, we are not comfortable, don't go ahead with this. You told him, because of the time that we have, go ahead, right? Yes, correct. So how much of blame should you take if things go wrong like they did, according to your reports? Which things are you referring to? No, you said that the technology was not what you were looking for. A bit of it was delivered late. So these are things that went wrong. So how much of responsibility should the commissioners take, apart from taking action on the chief executive officer? The late delivery of technology is not, nothing went wrong because of late delivery. We managed to get technology in good time. and they were in process for purposes of verification of voters and elections. So nothing went wrong there.
No, I'm saying
Yeah.
part of the reason that Ezra Chiloba is no longer the Chief Executive Officer is because of certain procurements, including the technology for the election, right? So, and those decisions that he made were sort of endorsed by the commissioners.
We were given updates. The first, during the first election, during the first
August
election,
8th.
August 8th, there was nothing wrong with the procurement of the KIMs. During the fresh presidential election, the accounting officer did not give us a full brief on what was happening with the renewed contract. And that's perhaps an area where we questioned in terms of the part of the reasons that we were questioning. But during the first tender, there was nothing wrong with it. Everything worked. The KIMs were delivered. The money was paid, and I think everything went well.
So even your reservations on 7 days to the deadline, the reservations you expressed that time was sort of not important when the actual implementation of the contract came in?
When it eventually came in, people worked around the clock, and everything went well as far as the deliveries were concerned. And that's an aspect of the first election.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me leave that. And he also said that, this is Ezra Chiloba, that the chairman was actually a member of the law firm. When he came, he claimed to have resigned, and when work was given, some went to his law firm. Did the commission procure the services of the law firm that you belonged to? I don't know whether you still belong there.
Thank you, Sam. But I have a feeling now we are dealing with matters before the Public Accounts Committee. And remember, this is still ongoing. But nevertheless, when I was appointed to office of chair of the IEBC, I resigned from that law firm. A law firm which had been on the panel of IEBC from 2015 to the time, I believe, still on the panel up to now. I resigned from the firm. I was my exit dues were worked out.
Okay.
And so I have no connection with that law firm. Number two, as I said, the work of giving out tenders is not with the chair and the board. It's with the accounting officer. Now, if he decided to allocate work to
your
former law firm, I have nothing to do with it. He didn't consult me, although I heard him say in Parliament that he called me. He never called me. So I think this is a man who, what do you expect of somebody who has been fired to glorify me? He's just trying to say anything and everything.
I don't know, but Kenyans would be interested in the truth.
Yeah. The truth is that I have nothing to do with that law firm. The law firm can speak for itself. You can reach them and ask them. I have nothing to do with them.
They're your former partners?
They're former partners.
Okay.
Yeah, that is as far as it goes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I want to focus on something else as we wind up. So from all this confusion that you're not able to sustain a commission the full term until now, you're not able to have the chief executive officer continuing to serve at the institution because of the reasons you've enumerated. And then there has been quite some turnover. Several directors have left, several senior officials of the commission have left. So what need we do to ensure that we do not find ourselves in a similar situation when there's another election?
I don't know which staff you're talking about who have left. The CEO was dismissed.
Yes.
And we have advertised for position of
there
CEO.
There was a deputy CEO.
Which one?
Betty Sungura.
Betty, her contract expired.
There was another director, Praxidis Torore.
Praxidis resigned for safer ground. I think now she's moving on with her life. But all in all, we have advertised for position of CEO. There have been 67 applicants who want that position, and the process is being put in place for interviews, which will take place any time. We have also advertised for positions of directors, and they're all being filled. Yeah. So
Okay.
there's no crisis as far as the management is concerned.
But there's a crisis at the commission. You're not a full team. You don't have 4 commissioners.
That is a fact. There are no 4 commissioners, and I think the discussion now is how to fill those vacancies, and I think that's being addressed by by Parliament. From what I heard yesterday from the parliamentarians who attended, the leader of majority and the chair of JLAC, that's being addressed.
Are there certain decisions you're not able to make because you're just 3 of you and the quorum is required to be at 5?
I would say that that issue was addressed by the High Court in one of the cases, and the decision was that quorum is a moving target, and if you are 3, quorum is 2, and then we are moving on. Actually, let me say, all commission activities are moving on, and there's no vacuum in the commission. On
paper, your contract expires, is it January 20th of 2023?
Yes.
Are you willing to serve the entire term?
That is the work Kenyans gave me to do.
Are you willing to oversee another election?
I have now the experience, I have what it takes to oversee another election, and that is, and so do the commissioners who are remaining in office. I think from where we sit, we have what it takes.
If political pressure comes, because the Sakasan-led team left office because of political pressure that was also somehow negotiated, would you be willing to leave office?
Let me say the law is clear as to how a commissioner or chair can vacate office. And I think it's important that we follow the law, and the constitution for that matter.
Okay. Yeah. Let me take you back to the days before the election and the days even after the August election. There were several protests in this town. There was a political contestation, a lot of noise coming from the political class, including the boycott that came from the National Super Alliance, and the ugly scenes that followed after that. And they tore your commission apart, and that's why now you're where you are. But when you look back, now you have a political handshake, and all that noise looks like it was child play. How does this make you feel?
I think in Kenya, one of the areas that, or one of our undoings as a country is in terms of creating such a polarized political environment. And you see that again has a toll on institutions like the IBC. Yes, the issue of the handshake is good for the country. I think it has worked well, and it needs to be supported by everyone. It reduces those tensions. And remember, during elections, I tried to reach out to both sides of the political divide. And I'm personally happy that they eventually shook hands. As a commission, we embrace it. We shall definitely also give our input to the BBI team as to what we think is best for this country. Yeah, so that we shall be doing soon.
Since that time, have you had a session with the president or even the former prime minister? Have you met them?
No, we have not met formally as far as the commission activities are concerned. Yeah.
And so in terms of filling those vacancies that are at the commission, I know you said that the law is being worked on, but it's apparent that from the commissioners, what they were saying is it's like their resignation letters were never acknowledged by the president. Is that a conversation that you want to have?
Definitely not. You know, I think people need to be honest. If one says publicly that they have resigned, and then you can't again say my letter was never received, so I'm still serving. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Yeah, it's a moral issue. It's absolutely a moral issue.
In August 2019, that is this year, we have census that will sort of inform the agenda of reviewing boundaries, which is supposed to happen between 8 and 12 years. How far are you in this?
On the census or the boundaries?
No, on reviewing the boundaries.
The last boundary review was in February, ended February 2012. The law provides that boundary reviews carried out between 8 to 12 years. So 8 years start from 2020, say March. So we have between March 2020 to 2024 to review boundaries. And I believe the 2022 election stands in the way because you cannot engage in the activity of reviewing boundaries 12 months to another election. So the process will start, but I personally don't see it completing before 2022.
Okay.
So most probably whatever process will be done will not affect the 2022 elections, because it might run into remember, the boundary review is quite a process, which has physically going around the country, writing a report and ensuring that that report is submitted to relevant parties, and there are disputes that may arise out of that, which you have 6 months again to deal with. We may not possibly be able to compress everything before the next election. So I see it running over, and it may not be used in the 2022. That's from the computation of the...
Okay.
But the Commission is coming up with an operation plan, and it will be shared with the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to focus, as we wind up, on the discussion that is going on in the country about a referendum proposal. And yesterday, the majority leader was saying that we don't have a referendum law. I don't know, where do you see it in all this conversation that is going on? Sijui, we need to create more positions in government. We need to reduce some of the counties. An entire conversation about proposals that people have. But eventually, we'll come to you to conduct a referendum should the need arise. How prepared are you for such?
The Commission is prepared for referendum. A referendum for us is just one election. Yeah, it's just so if and when the referendum question comes to us, either through Parliament or through the popular initiative, then we shall be able to follow the process and conduct it. And so, of course, we cannot be, as referees, we wait for the referendum question to come to us. And if it's popular initiative, we wait for the signatures to come to us. If it's parliamentary process, we wait for the president to refer the referendum question to us if the issues touch on Article 255 of the Constitution.
So for you, it's just wait and...
we wait. When it comes, we shall deal with it. The only thing that needs to be done is to ensure that the referendum bill, which has been pending in Parliament, is dealt with, and the regulations also as well are passed by Parliament.
All right. And the final question...
That should be done as soon as possible.
Okay, the final question I want to ask you is that you're recruiting as a new chief executive officer, and you said that there are 67 applications. But borrowing from what happened between Oswago and the Commissioner of Isaka's son, Oswago is still facing charges in court. Now you have you fired the chief executive officer Rachiloba last year. It appears not just the personality, but there's an issue on the structure of IEBC. Don't you think, even if you find a replacement, you still fall into the trap of the same structural challenges that you've been trying to work around? And what do you think, in your view, is the solution?
In my view, there's nothing wrong with the structure at the Commission.
There's a feeling that there are two centers of power.
It is, if you have a rogue CEO, then there'll be two centers of power. The structure is very, very simple, that the commissioner's job is cut out. You do policy, strategy, and oversight. Now, if you have a CEO who doesn't want to be oversighted by the commission, or does not implement decisions of the commission, or does not do his work, then that's where a problem comes in. But if you have a CEO who is a commission secretary who does the work and manages the board, then there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with that structure. It's just the individuals. In
her letter to you, which she termed the exit report, end of assignment report by Commissioner Rosalina Kombe, she said that one of her recommendations was that there should be an independent inquiry into the commission, inquiry commission into the 2017 election, and that you should scrap the CEO's office, and you should establish an executive chairperson and consider veto vote for the chair. Are these issues that you would want to see to streamline the operations of the commission?
Yeah, I personally think those are Kombe's views. I think, in my view, the current structure is quite okay. In fact, having an executive chair, again, you need to have checks and balances. And I think the current structure provides for proper checks and balances because everybody has their role. So
there's nothing wrong in the law?
For me, in terms of the structure of the commission, I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's the individuals, and people need to be held accountable. Okay. Yeah, for what the jobs are given to do.
Do you feel there's in any way that the commissioners let down this country in managing that election of 2017?
Commissioners did what they could in the short time given. There were challenges. We led procurement issues, led amendments to the law. We had other challenges in terms of transmission of results. Remember, most of the challenges are not the making of the commission. If we have no network coverage in the country, that's not the making of the commission. If you have political polarization, that's not the making of the commission. So the commissioners did the best they could in the short time given.
Okay.
And I think you cannot say we let down the country in any way. Okay. We can walk around with our heads high.
I asked that question because Bona Nalugala is tweeting us and saying that everybody seems to have been wrong except Chebukati. Everybody seems to have been lying according to Chebukati.
No, that's his view. That's he's entitled to his view.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me say this. My door is always open. The Kenyan who needs information from the commission, please come and get it. Instead of speculating and spreading rumors around. Yeah, if you want information from IBC, you're welcome to come and get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone is saying that, I think you have already responded to this. Please ask Chebukati when is he planning to exit the commission. Kenyans are just too tired.
You see now, those are individual views.
That is Moses Wenani, Chairman, Kenyatta Market, just some of the views that people have.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Chairman of IBC, Wafula Chebukati, for making time for us, coming to Daybreak, and for the first time in this country, having your first live interview from a studio.
Thank you, Sam.
Asante. Just don't leave yet. We are taking a short break, but when we return, we'll be we'll be listening to some music from the band, and later on we'll have Workout Wednesday with Willis Raburu. So stay tuned. You can continue to text us your views on 22422 or tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gituku. The hashtag to use is Daybreak, and also tweet Willis Raburu at Willis Raburu. Thank you.